Friday. All right, podcast. Looks like we're live there. And we're also live here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to SportsSkope. I'm your host, Robert Butler. Is there a little bit of sports news in the world, or is there a little bit of sports news in the world? I tell you, it's so much I cannot keep up with it. I'm just going to try to take the biggest topics as they have came in today and over the last few days. Usually Thursday, guys, are kind of my slower days. You know, I'm working, I'm tired, I don't have prep time. And today is just not one of those days. It's more news now than what it was on Tuesday, okay? Going to talk about a new and upcoming star. Hey, Carlos, in the college football world. I'm going to talk about the Iowa State Buckeyes. Matt Campbell, this guy had a $9.4 million buyout a few years ago. That's cut in half now. This guy's a really good coach. Maybe some pro teams will go after Matt Campbell. Maybe some other big college programs will go after him. I'm going to comment on the Simone Bliss, what do you call it, quitting, mental health, whatever. Talk about that. That story's kind of fading away. Going to get into this SEC, or Big 12, ESPN, doing the cease and assist letter. But first, let's talk about this huge trade. I mean, could you guys imagine? I could not imagine for a million years that Russell Westbrook will get traded to the LA Lakers. Now, people like Colin Cowherd, probably your Stephen A. Smiths of the world, they're all going to say that everything that is associated with LeBron James, superstar-wise, is all going to work out. It's going to be fine. They're going to make this thing gel. I'll give you the details of this. You know, I could not believe it. I thought it was just talks and not a lot of action. This is the last move, guys, that I would have thought that would have been made. I'll tell you. So I'm going to look at this now and see if I can find it here on my calendar, what Adrian Wojciechowski put down about the details of this trade. And so the Lakers, they sent off Kyle Kuzma. He had a down season. Montrezl Harrell was a huge disappointment. That's an understatement. As a Laker, he was in a doghouse. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, not a bad shooter there in their 2021 first-round pick, which was in the 20s. Let's see. Russell Westbrook will not lead the NBA in scoring for 3 years. Lakers send like 8 players. Yeah. So basically, Carlos, they sent this year's pick, KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Montrezl Harrell, and Kyle Kuzma. I remember at one time Kyle Kuzma seemed to be a promising Laker. But I'll say this. There are reports now that Bradley Beal now wants to stay in Washington. So what does that say about this guy, Westbrook? This is his third team in 3 years. I've noticed this as soon as he left Oklahoma, or as soon as this Durant thing happened in Oklahoma City. After the first year was seeing the first year between Westbrook and Oklahoma City, one and done in the playoffs. Then the guy, Paul George, doesn't work out. Then he gets traded to the Houston Rockets. Harden don't want to play with the guy. Then he goes to Washington. Bradley Beal obviously don't want to play with him because he wants to stay in Washington now, of all places, the Washington Wizards. So this is going to be a complete chaos, dumpster fire. Now, for shows like mine, some of these national guys that don't really care for LeBron, we're going to have a field day with this. LeBron lovers are going to come out and try to sell this. I think the over and under will be Westbrook will be traded before the February trade deadline. That's my guess. I do not think it'll even last, Carlos, an entire season. Now, I may be wrong, but I just don't think I just don't think it'll last an entire season. That's a huge hit for the Lakers. Now they're giving up their bench for this guy. I said to myself, Frank Vogel's going to lose the rest of the hair he's got in his head. LeBron may have to get new plugs. Dealing with the Westbrook. Only way Russell Westbrook will work out, Carlos, is for him to come off the bench as a sixth man, for him to check his ego at the door, and he cannot play on the same court with I want to say, no, never mind. With Anthony Davis, excuse me. So I just don't. I think it's going to be a lot of dribble. That they may look good for a game or two, but for a season, there's going to be a lot of stuff leak out. There's probably going to be blow-ups in the locker room. It's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting. Now, would he get in line for LeBron James? I don't know. This guy's post 30 years old. He's probably set in his ways, I would say. Westbrook. This is just a bad all-around mood. I would have personally went for his teammate Bradley Beal or make a run at Damian Lillard, which it seems like probably didn't have enough ammunition to go after him and make that happen. Ben Simmons was offered to be traded to the Golden State Warriors for Wiseman, Andrew Wiggins, and 2 first-round picks. That's what the asking price was from Philadelphia. And, of course, Golden State turned that down. I don't know if Golden State should have turned that down. That's a lot. That is a lot. But I don't know, man. Ben Simmons is a well of a player defensively. Anyways, yeah, this Cade Cunningham kind of reminds me of him, the first-round pick that was picked tonight by Pistons. 6'8", not quite as tall as a Ben Simmons. This guy is a combination. By the way, this is a very talented draft. We won't see a major contribution from these players from 2 to 3 years, possibly 4. That's why I'm not going to give too much airtime or thought to this NBA draft. But this Cade Cunningham guy, I did see some highlights on him. Kind of reminds me of a LeBron / Magic Johnson type of guy, 6'8" guy, good court vision, really quick. And I like the guy to number 2 that went to Houston. What's his name? Jalen Green. Quick as a cat. Jump out of the gym. He's got an extra gear. Kind of reminds me of the early years of a John Wall type of guy. A little bit more of a silky shot. This is a very talented draft. So I was surprised none of those players are using leverage. But then again, if you want to start over, maybe build some around these young guys, maybe you can do that. Now, Green came out of the G League, and of course, Cade Cunningham came out of the Oklahoma State. Wish these guys would have stayed a little bit longer. So that's what I have to say about those draft picks. There'll be at least a season injuries or a bunch there. Yeah. So, anyways, Aaron Rodgers came back. And he said that, he had some good points there. I mean, you want to ask, I guess it's okay to ask the player, where do you feel like we see the game film, Aaron? We see the game film. So what do you feel like maybe we should, what do you think about player X, player Y? And that's it. But Aaron gets on the pedestal and takes this to a whole nother level. This is not basketball. Quite frankly, you do not want players or even coaches, for the most part, picking players to do. Now, I've talked about that in the coaches. I've talked about that for Coach Bill O'Brien's out of a job right now. He's the offensive coordinator of University of Alabama because they let him be general manager, okay? Aaron Rodgers does not need to be the general manager. And Colin Cowherd, I got to give him credit. He did put up a list of players that were talked about that Rodgers said that they should have kept. And quite frankly, I agree with those players. that they should have moved on from. When I was a younger kid, guys, I grew up here in Nashville. When I turned 18, we got a football team here, and I was so excited about the Tennessee Titans. They made it Super Bowl 99. And then I got really depressed when they got guys like Eddie George go. They let Lorenzo Neal go, Randall Godfrey, guys like that, good glue guys. And for the most part, the Titans made the right decision at the time. George was washed up when he went to Dallas. You take the emotion out of it, and you got to look at the players for what they're producing, for what they're asking for. And, you got to take it from that. Menaire went to the Ravens. He played great for about a season, and he was horrible the next season. I think Mason played a little bit longer than I thought he would. But other than that, for the most part, they even Javon Kearse, guys. Javon Kearse left Tennessee, and I was really bummed out about that. But every time I looked up in Philadelphia, he was hurt again and again and again. He really only had one great year. So, but going back to what Rodgers, the players that he mentioned, he was talking about players like Charles Woodson that they were going to convert to from cornerback to safety for the money. So the Packers let him go. That was questionable because he didn't make a Pro Bowl as a safety. And guys like Micah Hyde from Buffalo Bills, he turned out to be pretty good. And Casey Hayward turned out to play really well with the Chargers. But guys like Jordy Nelson, Julius Peppers, Clay Matthews, even Randall Cobb, James Jones, John Kuhn, Brady Good, TJ Lang, Brian Bulga, all those players that, and even the receiver that Aaron Rodgers named that had a great training camp that they ended up cutting, and Buffalo picked him up. The guy caught one ball for the Buffalo Bills. You just can't do that. You got to take the emotion out of the game, And another thing I have an issue with Aaron Rodgers, which I said at the beginning of this when this all started to go down, he should have said, listen, when they got ran on like crazy in the NFC Championship game a couple of years ago with the 49ers and got blown off the ball by the 49ers, and earlier that year by the Chargers, they should have got more physical on defense. They needed help at linebacker. They needed help at defensive tackle. And, of course, they need help at opposite corner of Jar Alexander. Alexander there, their main corner there. He should have offered to take a pay cut and said, can you please get some defense for me? Can you please give us another chance so we're not constantly playing catch up and some of these teams that are more physical blowing us off the ball? If you could get us some more stops here. They could not get no push late in the game against Tom Brady. Tom Brady got greedy at the end, threw a lot of balls that he shouldn't have thrown, and they got interceptions. But that was a true blowout. And plus, do you guys remember the game before that against Tampa? Both of them. That other one was a complete blowout. Tampa blowing them off the ball, had no shot. Tampa last year and the 49ers year before that, totally stacked up against Green Bay, total dominating matchup there. So now, but that's what my point is. He should have offered to take a pay cut. He said it himself. I made a lot of money here in Green Bay. And now that doesn't count all the money that he made from those nationwide commercials there from from those nationwide commercials or whatever they are, discount double check commercials. I can't remember what insurance company that was. But so Aaron Rodgers, he is a great player, and the management has missed a lot on draft picks though. But that being said, he should have offered, hey man, you want to win? Him, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, simply did not want to take a pay cut. Now, Peyton Manning was very fortunate in Denver. They made all the right moves defensively and got him a TJ Ward back there. Very good player there. Picked up on the defense, got the defensive end there. Pickles out of Dallas there. DeMarcus Ware. John Elway saw that. Now, I sound like a broken record. I want to reiterate this, guys. He saw that they got destroyed, guys, in that Super Bowl against Seattle. And then he went out and got some defensive players and really, really pumped up that Green Bay defense, or that Denver defense, only to win a Super Bowl a couple years later, making it deep into the playoffs. That should have been done. Like I said, Breeze, Peyton Manning. If Peyton would have took some pay cuts prior to that, maybe they could have won more Super Bowls as well. So now they do adjust his contract and bring back Randall Cobb, who's making over $5 million. And they drafted a guy that's probably going to be better, Amari Rodgers. They needed a defensive back there. They should have went out, and maybe not now, a Richard Sherman, but possibly go after that Xavier Howard from Miami. But also they needed defensive tackle. They needed speed at linebacker, Pickles. Maybe go after a Von Miller. Be aggressive. Your window's now. This guy's 37 years old. He's going to be 38 towards the end of the year. He did get injured a couple years ago, collarbone, and I think he's had 2 collarbones now that I think about it. So now you've got $5 million. You brought back Randall Cobb. You didn't need Randall Cobb. You're going to get ran on this year. You may not, and some is even saying you may even lose this division to Minnesota. Now, I'm still saying Minnesota's going to be a very strong team. My dark horse teams right now, and I haven't broke down the seasons yet, are teams like Minnesota because they've upgraded defensively. They've got another year with this great receiver there that they took out of LSU last year, Justin Jefferson. I think they're going to be much improved. And plus, I do think that the Carolina Panthers are much improved. Again, not to sound like a broken record, but the 49ers are going to be loaded this year. And the Tampa Bay Bucks were loaded last year, and they brought everybody back, and they've got more continuity and more chemistry, team chemistry, continuity. All those adjectives describe this team. They're far superior than the Green Bay Packers. Those are the actual facts. But listen, speaking of, I've never heard Jimmy Garoppolo curse on a interview or soundbite. He was so excited about talking about the third, possibly fourth receiver, Mohamed Sanu. This is, I think it was yesterday. I want to say, Pickles, yesterday, talking about Mohamed Sanu. He is very excited about this year, and I think the 49ers is going to be really good, guys. Listen up. This is a reporter asking him about Mohamed Sanu, of all people. Overlook the language here.
I didn't get much time with him last year, but comparing maybe to where he was physically then to what you see out there now, how much further along?
Mohamed?
Yeah, Mohamed.
He's looking fucking good, man. I mean, excuse the language, but he really is. He came in ready. It's been a lot of fun this first day. I'm looking forward to the rest of camp with him.
Jimmy, what was the biggest thing you did? Was there some really major serious issues with that ankle that weren't discussed?
Yeah. It was pretty bad. Surgery was
debated. He talks about his ankle. He's excited like that because this team is loaded. The running game's going to be better. Mohamed Sanu's like a third or fourth receiver. Brandon Ayuk is going to be the number 1. Deebo Samuel, number 2 there. Defensive line, offensive line, got Trent Williams locked up. He's extremely motivated. Looks like he's lost a little bit of weight. I know they're going to win the West. I just don't know how far they're going to go. I think they're probably going to I may put them put them in the Super Bowl. I just have to break down everybody else in the NFC. This guy is going to have great protection now. They've got George Kittle. I just think they're going to really play well. I really think, you're getting guys like that defensive end guys. I'm drawing blanks here. Joey Bosa, and Armstead. All those guys were hurt last year. Not Armstead, but Bosa. I just think that they're going to be a rolling football team. I do not think the competition has the pass rush. And now Chandler Jones wants out of Arizona. Who knows what's going to happen there? But Seattle's going to be their biggest threat. The Rams are very top heavy. They are one left tackle injury away. They've already lost a running back, and they got rid of the other running back, lost him in free agency. But yeah, so he is really excited, and he should be. He should be. That team is going to be something. And speaking of excited, here's another play. That's one of my dark horse guys. Comeback player of the year, I'm leaning on picking Jimmy Garoppolo. But here's another guy that may win comeback player of the year too. I'll tell you this. I'll say this. This guy named Sedano. There was this guy. He does a what's his name? Basically, Sadeo. This guy that comes in here, I think his name's Ryan Sadeo. He's from The Athletic. He basically interviews coaches and agents around the league. He was also on Colin Cowherd's show, and he's talking about tiers of quarterbacks and all this stuff. And Colin asked him the other day, he says, what person stuck out more than anybody that's really surprising you with his progress? Listen up.
Journalist, you probably go in with mostly a blank slate. You don't want to have judgments, but you're a human being. Is there anything here you went, wow, that caught me off guard?
The level of love for Joe Burrow after 11 games, when he had 13 touchdowns with 5 interceptions, I wasn't sure. I mean, it's really easy in these rankings, and when I call these guys or talk to them, they can just give them a 4, which is kind of not enough information. You could bail out. There's room to just not make a declaration.
Yeah. Talk about Joe Burrow. Because Joe Burrow with Cincinnati, he's coming back from injury. This guy makes throws that seasoned guy, like an Aaron Rodgers will make in year 3, year 4. Remember, before he got injured, and he's already back, by the way. He's throwing and practicing with Jamar Chase, former LSU wide receiver, best standout receiver out there, highest rated receiver in this draft. He's warming up with him. But this guy, just throwing Aaron Rodgers-like throws, okay? And I'll tell you what, they've made improvements on their offensive line. They've got, you listen to other former players and coaches around the league, they will say Zach Taylor, yeah, that would be a good idea, Pickles. They would say Zach Taylor would be probably the worst coach in the NFL as a head coach. This guy that's the head coach of Cincinnati, he is a former he's never been coordinator before, head coach of Cincinnati. He has never been a the head coach at any level. He was never a coordinator, not even a head coach at any level, never a coordinator in the NFL. Cincinnati just takes him because he's from Sean McVay's staff. But I watched the throws that he made last year. No training camp practically, no preseason at all. And he comes in there looking like Joe Montana, a little bit of Aaron Rodgers there with those back shoulder throws. But now he's got Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. Now, those 3 wide receivers, I don't even think he even needed Jamar Chase. I would have took extra help at the offensive line and took Penei Sewell, who went to Detroit, right? So now they've got this guy. They've got Joe Mixon at running back. If this team with that coach makes the playoffs, and they very well could, they have made some free agent acquisitions on the defensive side of the ball. Geno Atkins is still out there, and they may bring back the former defensive tackle there with Cincinnati. This guy could be an MVP candidate. Think about this. Cincinnati, second-year player, could be a dark horse MVP. Guys like him, Ryan Tannehill. Now, one of them may win comeback player of the year between Garoppolo in Joe Burrow. Tannehill's got a shot to win MVP this year, and so does this guy. Now, no, Josh Allen obviously is going to be the favorite, I would imagine, coming in. I know those odds seem to go, all over the place. But I'll tell you what, Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, that's a team that's probably going to beat somebody. I'm here in Nashville. Tennessee won the division last year. They made it to the playoffs. They went up to Cincinnati and got beat. This guy throwing ropes out there. But that just goes to show you this guy, in my opinion, is going to be the best quarterback in that division. It's not going to be Lamar Jackson. He's already better than Baker Mayfield. You put this guy on Cleveland, I mean, I have zero doubts about them getting to the Super Bowl. They still may do it. I still may pick them because how loaded they are. It's going to be between Buffalo and Cleveland. That's the two teams out of the AFC I'm really leaning on. Now, Kansas City, it's just simply too hard to get back there. They've already had some injuries on the offensive line. We don't know what's going to happen to Frank Clark with his gun possession. That's probably their best. Him and Mike Jones are the best Chris Jones, best defensive players there, right? So it's very interesting, and I'm not surprised that news just came out about Joe Burrow. Hold on for a sec. Well, let's see. And right, Pickle says McVay's overrated. They're getting very thin on their roster. Again, traded away first-round picks. Their lead running back was hurt before the an Achilles. Running back tore his Achilles. Malcolm Brown, the other running back, was traded, was left away in free agency to Miami. They need to get on the ride and get another running back. They need some help at free agency. There's a few guys out there. I've talked about that the other day. I would not just roll with who I've got, folks. I just would not do that. Okay? All righty then. I am rapid fire. Let me go ahead and change out my time here real quick. Excuse me. All right. Now we're back on it. And let me change out my clock here for, 4:48, so I will not lose my time there. 4:47. I always seem to miss that last clock there. So in other news, the SEC, the Big 12, the SEC, by the way, apparently, according to Bruce Feldman, all this is going to go down. It's going to be A-OK starting July the 1st. As of July the 1st, 3 years from now, practically, 2025, Oklahoma and Texas will be in the SEC. I would have never thought about this before. Last couple of times this has been done, 1992, Arkansas and South Carolina came into the SEC. And, of course, 9 years ago, we got Missouri and we got Texas A&M in this conference. Now, this one right here really blew my mind. But now the president, I want to say, is it the president or commissioner? I'm trying to let this email come up here, of the Big 12 is suing ESPN or not suing them, put off a cease and desist letter for ESPN, trying to get other teams from the Big 12 to leave the Big 12 and trying to steer them possibly towards other conferences I think that they're covering, or the SEC. I couldn't quite understand what that was coming from. Of course, ESPN denies it and say that there's no wrongdoing. So it's a very interesting little squall back and forth. I'm rewatching the hit show Dallas Pickles, and Dallas is considered like a prime time soap opera, right? About a conning billionaire, not a billionaire, oil man, and he will do anything to get the deal done. This reminds me of that with the SEC, with cease and assist letters, people working behind like a J.R. Ewing type of guy set up there with the SEC, with the ESPN and the Big 12. See, but I cannot get that story up. Basically, let's see. No, it looks like it's coming up now. Yeah, Big 12 alleges ESPN trying to destabilize league network. Says claims have no merit. Big 12 Commissioner Bob Mosley announced ESPN of encouraging other conferences to pick apart the league so Texas and Oklahoma can move the Southeastern Conference more quickly without paying a massive buyout. I have absolute certainty that ESPN, have been involved in manipulate other conferences. Now, remember, ESPN will take over everything in the next 2 years as far as the SEC is concerned. CBS lost those contracts. I'm not happy about it by no means. And quite frankly, I like the competition. I actually like those games on CBS better than the SEC. Yeah, Dallas was a model of H.L. Hunt. Yeah, I think he was the guy that family owns the Kansas City Chiefs, right, Pickles? Excuse me. I'm talking so much crap here. And, of course, the SEC says, okay, here we go. ESPN, which owns the SEC network, signed a $3 billion deal with the SEC last year. They will give the network broadcast rights of all conferences starting in 2024. ESPN wants to hit the ground running. So if you're working for ESPN, now you're covering Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, LSU, Florida. Those are big, big schools there. Georgia, a lot of NFL guys. It's really going to be hard now. You're up to 16 teams now, the SEC. I don't even know if we should even brag about having the most NFL guys. But all that being said, it makes for a better product. We're probably going to have, as discussed before, super conferences in college football. There's still always going to be the have and have-nots. We've got the NIL issue. Now we're talking about the 12-team playoff here. But that being said, you're going to get more teams out of the SEC when you got that 12-team playoff. Out of that 16 team, maybe get 4 or 5 of them. Maybe even 6 out of the SEC. Now you got 16 teams, right? And then, of course, you'll have your Clemsons. I think Miami is going to rebound eventually. Florida State, those type of teams. Ohio State, they're going to come back strong. USC, they're going to be late to the party, but I think eventually they will get involved. That being said, as far as getting into that playoff, don't you want to see a better product on TV? I do. I'm a fan of that. I'm always worried about what's best for the fan. You can't really worry about all the minutia of who gets what out of college football. There's plenty of money to go around. Nobody wants to watch those 49-7 rice pickles in Oklahoma. That's boring. 62-0. Stuff like that. Yes, streaming is the way of the future. Possibly Amazon can get some of those college games. That helps people who work like me. Crazy hours. I used to work security for long, long hours. 15 years ago, it would have been awesome to just have my phone and watch any game I wanted to, rather than trying to find it on the radio. I thank God for smartphones. Okay. So, anyways, speaking of the Big 12 and the SEC. And all that won't let me be. Let's talk about one of the hotter coaches that's going to be mentioned for bigger jobs. This guy, Matt Campbell out of Iowa State. Listen, his buyout was, he's been there 5 years, I want to say. $9.3 million buyout. Why? This guy put up a bunch of kids nobody's never heard of. They recruit 50th to 90th. I mean, they were way back there in the back of the line when he started taking over this team. And he'll beat teams like Oklahoma at home. I mean, they beat TCU last year, guys. They beat Baylor. They beat Texas. These teams have way more NFL talent. much more talent. I mean, they were 9-3 last year. They got 11 starters coming back on offense, 9 on defense. So Matt Campbell, keep that name in mind. Now, he has signed an extension here. I want to say he has signed an extension. I want till 2028, $4 million per year, and $3 million goes on his staff. Iowa State likes it. This is how much money's in college football. This is why people are fighting over these TV rights and to be involved in these big conferences. $90 million facility promised because of the winning this guy has done with practically nothing. He's only 42 years old. He's a guy that if he has another year where I don't think they're going to knock out Oklahoma this year. I think Oklahoma's got as good a chance to win the national championship as anybody. On Monday or on Tuesday, I'm going to be talking about the Big Ten. Your Penn State, Ohio State, those guys like that. But this guy, Matt Campbell, I'll tell you, he's going to be something. This team may get into the playoff next year. I mean, they could be that good. I mean, they're playing at Oklahoma, and they could very well beat Oklahoma. At Baylor, at UNLV, at Kansas State, at West Virginia. They got Texas at home this year. Texas Tech. I mean, they could be 10-1, something like that in the regular season. So, if they're that good, with all these starters coming back, they've only lost 2 starters on both sides of the ball. This guy will not be Iowa State. Maybe an NFL squad will look after him. Maybe one of these bigger. I'll keep thinking USC is going to eventually fire their coach. What's this guy's name? Helton, whatever his name is. Something like that's going to happen. Yeah, Pickles talking about Bowling Green get beat 60-3. I don't like to watch those games. I just don't. I'd much rather see Alabama play Texas, and Alabama's so good sometimes they may beat Texas 57-17. But I'd rather see them beat Texas 57-17 than Bowling Green 60-3. Pickles, you see what I'm saying? But my thing about that's initially on the other team I want to talk about. Particularly this Big 12, when we're talking about Big 12, is Matt Campbell. Keep an eye out for him. Be a hot commodity. Somebody, and I'll tell you what, you want to hear somebody may get fired nobody's talking about? You see, we can hear here? Kirby Smart up at Georgia. They fell again to get to the SEC championship game. With that kind of talent that they're bringing in there, you got X's and O's guy, and this Matt Campbell at Iowa State. You take him with top 5 NFL draft picks, a top 5 recruiting class, and multiple NFL players. He may be able to sneak one in over Nick Saban. He might be able to beat Florida. He may be able to win a national championship. So keep an eye on this name. This is a hot name to watch out. I'm going to talk about Michigan Tuesday. They may fire Jim Harbaugh and go after this guy. Harbaugh, even though Harbaugh just recently signed an extension. All right. Other news, I'll have to say, man. And by the way, the SEC unanimous decision. SEC presidents have all voted for Texas and Oklahoma to come into the fray there. Oh, there's another NFL story. Okay. By the way, there was a top 50 licensing, players who sold the most merchandise in the NFL. We were just talking about the Cowboys the other day. And this is like the top 50, the top 10 guys. This is why I think that maybe Dallas should go after Xavier Howard. Dallas should be aggressive and go after more defensive players and push their salary cap as far to the limit as they possibly can. This is the biggest brand in football. So there was a story I read, and I almost missed it. The top 50 selling merchandise players that players move that are licensed NFL merchandise, which means the owners get a piece of it. Number 1, Tom Brady, I was really surprised that he's still selling jerseys like that. Number 2 was Patrick Mahomes. Check this out. Number 3 was Dak Prescott. And number 4 is Joe Burrow. I was just talking about Burrow. CD Lamb was number 5 for the Dallas Cowboys, a wide receiver. And then number 7 was Ezekiel Elliott. So you got 3 out of the top 10 on one team. So what does that tell you? It's the most popular brand in sports. Maybe in a year or two, once he gets that big chunk, $50-60 million of that guaranteed money, if you're Dak Prescott, why not take a pay cut? And be blunt. Don't be afraid to ask. I never was. Who said that? Jerry Jones. Go up to Jerry and say, give me the best team you can find. I'm going to cut my salary all the way down, but I want the best defense we can get out there. Give me the best guard. Give me the best block and tackle out there on free agency. Cut me down to size salary cap wise. I'll make it up in endorsements. Well, by the way, he made $50 million before he even signed this extension in endorsements, Dak Prescott. Think if you got this guy in the Super Bowl. It's just an interesting thought there. I there's no way I would have believed that. Even I know they're popular. I didn't think they were that kind of popular pickles. So, like I said, there's plenty of NFL news to go around. Let me see. I'm going through my other. Let's see. Simone Biles. Okay. Bliss. Excuse me. Make sure. Okay. I got that one about the thing. I'm looking for this. Simone Bliss said she got the twisties during her tournament there in the Olympics. Now, this was what my understanding was. This was the team gymnastics. And, I wanted a few days to really get a gist of this before I had a comment about it. And I'll say this. Now, she says that basically the anxiety and everything is performing, but she backed out just before the team played their final match, and she dropped out. They got the silver anyways. I'll say this. The timing on it doesn't look good. Okay. I blame the coaches for one thing, because if you're an Olympic coach and you're on this big stage, don't you think that those coaches that are with her have access to the best sports psychologists in the country? Don't you think they've got the most psychiatrists, psychologists in the country to talk to this one young woman? Now, she's 24. I do blame them. The other part of it is I don't blame her for not wanting to step down, okay? That kind of anxiety with social media, it's just extra intense. But that being said, from a guy who has quit on jobs and made a lot of mistakes in my life and will own up to it, she shouldn't have done that. She should not have done that, and it should not be praised. She made a mistake. We all make mistakes. I still think she's adorable. I still think she's probably one of the best ever. She's got several gold medals, but we don't want to send that message. And I know people say, well, if she had a mental block, that's very dangerous. You can get hurt. Flipping off of those, bars and everything. That's why you get the psychologist to get in her head and say, listen, just worry about making your next move. If you're having a mental block, write down every single step that you have to take in order to get the job done. And write it out. And we'll go over it. We'll do some breathing exercises. We'll be fine. And we want to get through this team competition. Once we get through this team competition, you're still feeling burnt out, you having mental blocks, then you can quit. For your individual competitions, we understand. Okay? That's how I would have handled that particular situation. Reason why I'm saying this, because it looks like The timing's not good. But after Naomi Osaka, she's seeing Osaka quit like that. The tennis player, because of mental health, it looks like she's just copying her. It looks like that that's becoming a card now of afraid to lose. It's okay to lose. It's okay to make mistakes. I made mistakes. She's 24 years old. I walked out on a job when I was 33, a restaurant management job, and I still feel bad about that because I did not work the whole day through. I was going to quit the job anyways. It was a manager training at Wendy's. It was too claustrophobic getting in there, but I feel bad. So I forgive her for it, and I don't really – but that was a mistake, and I think that it shouldn't be celebrated. You quit, and you let your team down. I understand, but it shouldn't be celebrated. And again, that it's a learning experience for everybody. It's better just to push through and lose gracefully than quit like that. That's my take on Simone. Coaching is psychology. Yeah, thank you. She is already a champion. Risking injury is not worth it. She was not even injured, Carlos. She was not injured. It was a mental block. It was a mental block. That's what your coaching's for. That's what your psychologist's for. They're celebrating her quitting, but if you push through, you don't want others to see. You see, Naomi Osaka, she came back for the Olympics and then she lost. So it looks like she just saw that was a avenue to quit because she was feeling anxiety. Anxiety is part of life. You're never going to eliminate anxiety. I'm all about mental health. I'm all about being empathetic towards the kids, even the grown-ups. I know about the Michael Phelps story. I've talked about mental health many times on this show. A lot of compassion, a lot of empathy for it. But you don't want that to be a card. You don't want it to be a race card where people just play so they can just quit on things. That's what it seems like. She's still a champion of course, she's got all those medals. She's dominating, but it should not be celebrated. That's all. And you see people, who was it, Shepard Smith the other day? I think he was on one of the networks crying and stuff. Give me a break, man. It's from a guy who's made those mistakes and owned up to them and quit. I've quit football teams. I felt bad. I've quit basketball. I've quit practices, and I felt awful about it. But you don't quit. You push through in life. And again, she could, and it would have still been okay in my book if she would have just finished the team competition. If she would have finished the team and just say, I don't have it in me. I'm totally burnt out to do the individuals. Because you let all those other kids down, all those other your teammates down. I don't know how old they are, probably all grown, but and they've been working for years and years and years to do this. So, and that being said, I understand today's social media environment, the pressures on these young people. I understand that she's probably been doing this since she was 4 years old. She's probably a little burnt out on it. She wants to try something else, and I'm totally okay with that. I'm totally okay. It's a very little criticism from exactly, Pickles. Thank you. Jason Pickles knows about John Smoltz getting a sports psychologist, changing his life. He was a Major League Baseball pitcher. Alex Rodriguez, Carlos, he got a sports psychologist. He couldn't handle that New York City pressure. He was seeing a psychologist. I want to say that Ricky Henderson was seeing a sports psychologist, but I may be wrong. I know it was some older lady was giving him advice and stuff, how to deal. Phil Jackson, the Zen master. There was breathing exercises that he did with the Lakers. We all have anxiety issues at some time. Some of us more than others. So I'm totally okay with that. I'm glad that that's being more susceptible in society, and the importance of mental health and the importance of having these type of psychologists, and not just to help you through sports, help you out with any serious thing you may have to face in your life. So it's all kind of it's a good talking point. It's a good thing to discuss about. with amongst herself. And of course, she probably is burnout. You know, Jason Whitlock said she probably had it in her head that she was wanting to finish in 2020, but COVID set it back, and they ended up doing it in 2021. And now she's really burnout. And I don't blame her. I mean, she's made it farther than any than I probably could have ever made it, you know. So anyways, kudos to the who was it? Pickles. The Padres made a huge trade today. I wanted to talk about that with Matt Scherzer, Hugh Darvish, and Musgrove. I don't know if they're going. I know they're about 5.5 back in the NL West, but when you get a guy like Max Scherzer, you're probably going for a World Series. I would say today they are second in the wild card. I don't know about putting them in the World Series. But I'll tell you what, I think they can go the distance in this season. Not a big baseball guy, but they made a move today and got Max Scherzer. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I think they may knock out the Dodgers. I don't know if they can catch San Francisco, but they got the bats for it. You bring in a guy like that, see how the bullpen plays out. He's a big game pitcher. This is going to be interesting. They have been an interesting team to watch all year long, especially that guy they paid all that money to. Turned out to be he's having a great season, and he's slipping my mind right now. But I did see that in the tea leaves and Matt Scherzer. I mean, this guy, check this out: 2.88 ERA, 1.00 WHIP, 1,610 strikeouts, 92 wins, 2 Cy Youngs, 1 World Series, and 6 All-Star appearances, and a partridge in a pear tree for Matt Scherzer. Man, that dude is a real deal Holyfield. The Padres are a good they're a good team to watch, man. I never thought I would be talking about the San Diego Padres. Yeah, Pickles, I think they're going to be something, man. San Francisco's outperformed their roster well. Carlos, sometimes there's nothing like good old-fashioned chemistry, right? I mean, look at the Boston Red Sox. Look at the San Francisco team. Look what you know what? I used to overlook managers. Look what Tony, what is it? Is it LaRosa? I always get him, LaRosa, and the guy used to pitch for the Dodgers. But anyways, the manager for White Sox, seems like they're doing in pretty good shape. Management helps. It helps way more than I thought. So anyways, everybody, I will be back on probably Tuesday, talk a little bit of the Big Ten. You can check me out there, around 9 p.m. Central Time. I'll be breaking down Ohio State. We'll talk about Penn State. Michigan. Is this the last year for Harbaugh? He signed an extension, but if he has a really bad year, I don't know. He might get fired, and they may go after this Matt Campbell from Ohio State. Iowa State. This Iowa State's probably he's my number one hottest coaching candidate in the near future. If you ask me, throwing a Hugh Freeze from Liberty, I think he'll come up there, everybody. But I'll talk about that. And Sunday, 7:30 a.m. Central Time, be on the Mac and Jack show. Mac and Jack's got a big show. They're on Northeast Streaming Sports, YouTube, and they're also on the Facebook Northeast Streaming Max Sports. Look that up. Got a great show. These guys got Jim Jeffcoat, Super Bowl guys. They had Max Kellerman on the other day. So these are the kind of circles that I am running in, guys. If you like the show, please share the show. Looks like I have a really good audience tonight. I really appreciate that. People love football. You're thirsty for the NFL. I want to say we're about 6 weeks away from this day from the NFL. Dallas and Tampa playing. I want to say 5 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, of a college football, but really 6. I mean, the NFL is the real deal. I mean, college is nice, but come on. The NFL is the real deal, Holyfield. If you want to contribute to the program, you go to the ZELLE app, and my email is sports with an S scope at gmail.com, everybody. So have a good night, everybody. Thank you, Kathy. You've been a great supporter of the program. I will see you otherwise around 9 p.m. Central Time here on SportsSkope.